The shuttle doors opened with a hiss and Taemin stepped onto the station platform. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Around him, everything was huge. The walls stretched up higher than any building he had seen on Earth. The corridors were wide enough to drive 3 trucks side by side, but it was not the station that made Taemin feel small. It was the aliens waiting for him. The Vraxians stood in a line, watching him walk forward. They were massive. Even the shortest one was at least 8 feet tall. Their skin looked thick and rough, like armor made of gray stone. Their eyes were dark and cold. When they moved, muscles rippled under their hides. Taemin was 5 feet 8 inches tall. He weighed 170 pounds. Next to these giants, he looked like a child. One of the Vraxians stepped forward. He was young, maybe the same age as Taemin, but he towered over the human. His face twisted into something that might have been a smile, but it showed too many teeth. "This is the Earth diplomat?" the Vraxian said. His voice was deep and rough. "This little thing?" The others laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. "I am Taemin, representative of Earth," Taemin said. He kept his voice steady. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times. "I come to speak with your council about an alliance between our peoples." The young Vraxian laughed harder. "Alliance? What could soft skins like you offer us?" "My name is June," the Vraxian continued. "I will show you to your quarters. Try not to break on the way." June turned and walked away. His steps were heavy. Taemin followed, carrying a single bag. The other Vraxians whispered behind him. He heard the words clearly. Soft skin, breakable, weak. Taemin said nothing. He kept walking. The quarters June showed him were small. The bed was a hard bench built into the wall. There was no desk, no chair. A tiny window showed the stars outside. Taemin had seen the guest quarters on the station's information files. They were 5 times larger than this room with proper furniture and communication equipment. This was a servant's room. "Maybe a storage closet. Will this do, soft skin?" June asked. He was still smiling. "It will be fine," Taemin said. "Thank you." June looked disappointed. He had wanted Taemin to complain. When the human said nothing, the Vraxian left, the door sliding shut behind him. Taemin sat on the hard bench. He looked at his hands. They were shaking just a little. He closed them into fists until they stopped. He had known it would be like this. Earth had sent 12 diplomatic missions to different alien species. Only 3 had been treated with respect. The others had been laughed at, ignored, or sent away. Humans were new to the galaxy. They were small and weak compared to most other species. Nobody took them seriously, but Earth needed allies. The galaxy was dangerous. There were pirates, hostile empires, and things worse than either. Alone, humanity would not survive. They needed friends, trade partners, and military alliances. The Vraxian Empire was powerful. They controlled dozens of star systems. Their military was feared across half the galaxy. If Earth could make an alliance with them, other species would follow. Taemin unpacked his bag. He put on his formal diplomatic uniform and went to find the feast hall. Tonight, the Vraxians would hold a welcome dinner. He could not be late. The feast hall was enormous. Long tables filled with food stretched across the room. Vraxians sat everywhere eating and drinking. They talked loudly, their voices mixing into a roar of sound. When Taemin entered, some of them turned to look. The talking got quieter. Then the laughing started. A female Vraxian approached him. She was older than the others, with scars across her face and arms. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "I am Bora," she said. "I am a counselor. You must be the human." "I am Taemin," he said, bowing slightly. Bora studied him. "You are very small," she said. It was not an insult, just a fact. "Yes," Taemin agreed. "Humans are smaller than Vraxians. Do you know what you are asking for?" Bora asked. "An alliance with the Empire is not given freely. You will need to prove your worth." "I understand," Taemin said. Bora nodded slowly. "We will see. Come sit, eat." She led him to a table. Taemin sat on a bench that was too tall for him. His feet barely touched the ground. The plate in front of him was huge, filled with meat that was still half raw. He ate what he could with the oversized utensils. Across the table, June was watching him. The young Vraxian stood up suddenly. "Human," June called out. "Do you know our customs? At a feast, warriors test their strength. Come, let us see how strong Earth makes its people." Other Vraxians were watching now. Some were smiling. They knew what was coming. June slammed his massive arm on the table. His hand was twice the size of Taemin's head. Arm wrestling, June said. Unless you are too afraid. The hall went quiet. Everyone was watching. This was a test. If Taemin refused, he would look weak. If he accepted, he would lose badly and look foolish. Taemin stood up. I am not a warrior, he said clearly. I am a diplomat. I came here to talk, not to fight. If your empire judges people only by their strength, then perhaps we have nothing to discuss. June's smile faded. Are you refusing? I am saying that wisdom is greater than strength, Taemin said. And any empire that forgets this will not last long. The hall was completely silent now. No one had ever spoken to a Vraxian warrior like this. June's face turned dark with anger. He started to move forward. Enough. The word was quiet, but it cut through the silence like a blade. Everyone turned. A Vraxian stood in the shadows at the back of the hall. He was taller than the others, with scars covering his arms and chest. His eyes were different from the others. They were tired, old, like he had seen too much. When he stepped forward into the light, several Vraxians actually moved back. Hyun, someone whispered. The scarred Vraxian walked forward slowly. He looked at June, just looked. June sat down immediately, his eyes on the floor. Then Hyun turned to Taemin. He studied the human for a long moment. Taemin met his gaze and did not look away. Finally, Hyun nodded once, just once. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing back into the shadows. The feast continued, but something had changed. The Vraxians still whispered about the small human, but now they were not all laughing. Some looked confused. Some looked curious. Bora leaned close to Taemin. Do you know who that was? She asked quietly. No, Taemin said. That was Hyun, the Alpha Hunter. He has killed more enemies than anyone in the Empire. He has fought in every war for the last 20 years. When he speaks, the council listens. When he acts, armies follow. Why did he stop June? Taemin asked. Bora shook her head. I do not know. Hyun never interferes in matters like this. He barely speaks at all. But he stopped the challenge. That means something. Taemin looked at the shadows where Hyun had disappeared. He felt like he was being watched, studied like an insect under glass. But not with cruelty. With curiosity. The feast ended late. Taemin walked back to his small room. His legs hurt from sitting on the too tall bench. His arms hurt from holding the too heavy utensils. But he had survived the first day. As he lay on the hard bed, Taemin thought about Hyun. The Alpha Hunter had not laughed. He had not mocked. He had just watched and listened. Maybe, Taemin thought, there was one person on this station who did not judge him by his size. It was not much. But it was something. Outside his window, the stars turned slowly. Tomorrow he would meet with the council. Tomorrow the real test would begin. But tonight Taemin allowed himself to hope. The council chamber was cold and dark. Taemin stood in the center of the room, surrounded by Vraxian counselors sitting in high chairs. They looked down at him like judges, like gods deciding the fate of an insect. Human, one of the counselors said. His voice echoed in the chamber. You come seeking alliance with the Vraxian Empire. Tell us why we should accept. Taemin had prepared for this. He spoke clearly about Earth's resources, their technology, their strategic position in their sector of space. He explained how an alliance would benefit both peoples. He used facts and logic. The counselors listened. Some looked bored. Some looked amused. When Taemin finished, there was silence. Then June stood up. He was sitting with the counselors, though he was young for such a position. His family must be important, Taemin thought. With respect, Council, June said. Why are we wasting time with this? Humans are weak, small. They have no warriors worth the name. What can they offer us that we cannot take for ourselves? Several counselors nodded. One of them spoke. The young one has a point. We have heard your words, human. But words are wind. The Empire respects strength. Prove that your people are worthy of our attention. How would you have me prove this? Taemin asked. June smiled. The trials of worth, he said. Ancient tradition. When a new species seeks alliance, they must pass 3 trials. Combat, survival, wisdom. Pass all 3, and the council will consider your request. Fail even one, and you leave, never to return. Taemin felt his stomach tighten. He had read about the trials of worth. They were designed for Vraxian warriors. Several alien species had died attempting them. But he also knew what refusing would mean. Earth would never get another chance. I accept, Taman said. Some counselors looked surprised. Others looked pleased, like they had just been promised entertainment. Bora stood up. The human has accepted. The trials will begin in 3 days. He will be given access to the training facilities to prepare. She looked directly at June. And he will not be disturbed during this time. The rules of the trials are clear. June bowed. Of course, counselor. But his eyes said something different. The training facility was huge. Vraxian warriors practiced there every day, lifting weights that could crush a human, fighting with weapons that Taman could barely hold. When he entered, the warriors stopped and stared. Taman ignored them. He found an empty corner and began to study. He could not win by fighting like a Vraxian. He was too small, too weak, but he had spent 5 years in Earth's colonial defense force. He knew combat. He knew tactics. He just needed to adapt them. For 2 days, he watched the Vraxians train. He studied how they moved, how they fought. He learned their patterns, their habits. Vraxians were strong and tough, but they were also predictable. They valued direct confrontation. Head-to-head combat, power versus power. Taman would have to fight differently. On the second night, he stayed late in the training facility. The lights were dim. Most warriors had gone to eat and rest. Taman was practicing movements, testing his speed against imaginary opponents. He heard footsteps behind him. Heavy footsteps. Several of them. Taman turned. June stood there with 4 other Vraxians. They spread out surrounding him. Training hard, soft skin? June asked. Do you really think you can pass the trials? I will try, Taman said. He looked for exits. They had blocked the main door. We cannot let you embarrass the Empire, June said. Better that you get injured now. A training accident. You go home and everyone forgets about this foolishness. June stepped forward. His friends moved closer. Taman raised his hands. He knew he could not fight 5 Vraxians. He would lose badly. Maybe die. But he would not beg. He would not run. Stop. The word came from the darkness. Taman recognized the voice. Hian stepped into the light. He was alone. He did not hurry. He just walked forward with slow, steady steps. June turned. Alpha Hunter. This does not concern you. It does, Hian said. His voice was quiet, but it filled the room. The human accepted the trials. Council law protects him until they are complete. You know this, June. We were just training, June said. Hian looked at the 5 Vraxians surrounding Taman. He looked at their positions, their ready stances. 5 against 1. In the dark. After hours, he stepped closer to June. Do you think I am stupid? June's confidence broke. No, Alpha Hunter. I would never leave, Hian said. Now. June and his friends left quickly. They did not look back. Taman and Hian stood alone in the training facility. Taman's heart was pounding. His hands were shaking again. Thank you, Taman said. Hian studied him with those tired, ancient eyes. Why do you shake after they are gone? You did not shake when they surrounded you. Taman looked at his hands. Fear catches up when danger passes. You were afraid, but you did not run. Running would not have helped. Hian nodded slowly. You understand this, good. He turned to leave, then stopped. June will be punished. But there are others who think like him. Be careful, human. Why do you help me? Taman asked. Hian was quiet for a long moment. I have fought in many wars, he finally said. I have killed enemies on 100 worlds. I thought I knew what strength was. But I watched many strong warriors die because they could not adapt, because they fought the same way against every enemy. He looked at Taman. You are small and weak, but you think that is rare. Before Taman could respond, Hian walked away into the darkness. Bora found Taman the next morning. She looked worried. Walk with me, she said. They walked through the station's observation deck. Through the windows, stars stretched forever. Bora was quiet for a long time. I should not tell you this, she finally said, but you should know what you are fighting for. I thought I was fighting for an alliance, Taman said. You are fighting for much more, Bora said. She looked around to make sure they were alone. The Empire is dying. Taman stopped walking. What? Not today. Not this year. But it is dying. Bora's voice was heavy. On the frontier, our colonies are disappearing. Entire worlds go silent. When we send ships to investigate, they find nothing. Empty cities, no bodies, no signs of battle, just nothing. What is causing it? We do not know. Our best warriors have gone to fight this enemy. They do not return. Our best strategists have tried to plan defenses. Nothing works. Bora looked at Timon. The Empire has been strong for 1,000 years. We conquered every enemy through power and courage, but this enemy does not fight like we do. And we do not know how to adapt. Why are you telling me this? Because Hyun believes you might have answers we do not. Because I believe the Empire needs new allies, new ideas, new ways of thinking. She touched his shoulder gently. If you pass these trials, you will not just win an alliance. You might save us all. The weight of her words pressed down on Taemin. He had come here to secure trade agreements, to make Earth safer. He had not expected this. I am just one person, he said. Every great change begins with one person, Bora said. That night, Taemin could not sleep. He lay on his hard bed and thought about disappearing colonies, about an enemy that could make the mighty Vraxian Empire afraid, about being very small in a very large and dangerous galaxy, but he also thought about Hyun's words. About adaptation, about thinking differently. Maybe that was humanity's real strength. Not that they were tough or powerful, but that they were new. They had no traditions holding them back, no old ways of thinking. They could see problems with fresh eyes. The next day was the third day. The day the trials would begin, Taemin went to the training facility early. This time, Hyun was there practicing alone. His movements were smooth and precise. Each strike was controlled. Each step was balanced. Watching him was like watching water flow or wind blow. Natural. Perfect. Hyun saw Taemin and stopped. You are ready? No, Taemin said honestly. But I will fight anyway. For the first time, Taemin saw Hyun smile. It was small and sad, but it was a smile. That is the only answer that matters, Hyun said. They stood together in silence. Outside, the station's lights began to brighten. Morning was coming. The arena was preparing. Soon, thousands of Vraxians would gather to watch the small human try to do the impossible. Taemin closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He thought of Earth, of blue skies and green trees, of oceans and mountains, of 7 billion humans who did not know that their future was being decided today. He opened his eyes. I am ready, he said. Hyun nodded. Then let us go. The Empire awaits. They walked together toward the arena, the Alpha Hunter and the tiny Earthling, one who had seen too much war, one who was about to see it for the first time. Behind them, the training facility stood empty and silent. Tomorrow, it would be full again with warriors practicing their ancient forms, but after today nothing would be the same. The trials were about to begin. The arena was packed. Thousands of Vraxians filled the seats, their voices creating a roar like thunder. Taemin stood in a small room beneath the arena floor, listening to that sound. It made his bones vibrate. A guard opened the door. It is time, the guard said. Taemin walked down the tunnel. Light grew brighter ahead. The roar grew louder. Then he stepped out into the arena and the sound crashed over him like a wave. The arena was enormous. The sand floor stretched 50 meters across. Walls rose high on all sides, covered with seats full of watching Vraxians. Above, a force field shimmered, keeping the crowd safe from what happened below. On the opposite side of the arena, another tunnel opened. A Vraxian warrior stepped out. He was huge even for his species. His name was Dal, and he looked like a walking mountain. His arms were thick as tree trunks. His chest was broad as a door. He carried a staff made of metal that glowed with energy. Taemin had a similar staff. In his hands it felt heavy and awkward. In Dal's hands it looked like a toy. The crowd roared louder. They were cheering for Dal. Some were laughing, pointing at Taemin. The message was clear. This would not be a fight. It would be an execution. A voice boomed across the arena. The first trial of Worth combat, the rules are simple. Fight until one cannot continue. Fight until one submits. Victory brings honor. Defeat brings nothing, the voice paused. Begin! Dal charged immediately. His footsteps shook the ground. He swung his staff in a massive arc, aiming to end the fight with one blow. Taemin rolled to the side. The staff crashed into the sand where he had been standing, leaving a deep crater. The crowd gasped. Not because Taemin had dodged, but because he had dodged so easily. Dal swung again. Taemin ducked under it. The staff whistled over his head again. Taemin stepped back. The staff missed by inches. Dal roared in frustration. He attacked faster, harder, powerful blows that could shatter stone. But Taman was not there when they landed. He moved like water, always flowing away from danger. The crowd grew quieter. They had expected the human to die quickly. Instead, he was making Dal look slow and clumsy. Taman's military training took over. His instructors had taught him well. When facing a stronger enemy, do not meet strength with strength. Use speed, use distance, use timing. Make them tired. Make them frustrated. Make them make mistakes. Dal was getting tired. His swings became wider, less controlled. Sweat ran down his gray skin. His breathing was heavy. Taman waited for his moment. Dal swung high. Taman dropped low and swept his staff at Dal's ankle. The Vraxian was too heavy to trip, but the blow made him stumble. For just a second, Dal was off balance. Taman struck, not with strength, but with precision. He jabbed his staff into the soft spot behind Dal's knee. The Vraxian's leg buckled. Dal dropped to one knee. Taman moved fast. He struck Dal's hand, making him drop his staff. Then Taman pressed his own staff against Dal's thick neck, right where the breathing passages were. The arena went silent. "Yield," Taman said quietly. Dal's face was dark with shame and anger, but Taman's staff was cutting off his air. He had no choice. "I yield," Dal gasped. Taman stepped back immediately. He bowed to Dal, showing respect. Dal stood slowly, picked up his staff, and walked away without looking back. The arena exploded. Some Vraxians were cheering. Some were shouting in anger. Some just sat in shocked silence. In the council box high above, June stood up. "This is not acceptable," he shouted. The human fought dishonorably. He ran away. He struck at weak points. "This is not how Vraxian warriors fight." Other counselors nodded. They looked uncertain. The human had won, but not in the right way. Not their way. Then Hyun stood. He was sitting in the back of the council box, but when he rose, everyone turned to look at him. "Counselor June," Hyun said. His quiet voice somehow carried across the entire arena. "Tell me, when you fight an enemy in war, do you announce your attacks first?" June looked confused. "No, but do you only strike where the enemy is strongest?" "That is different, is it?" Hyun walked forward. Every eye in the arena followed him. The human was given a staff and told to fight. He fought. He used his speed because he has no strength. He used his mind because he has no size. He adapted to survive. Hyun looked around at the crowd. Is adaptation not the first rule of survival? Did our ancestors conquer this empire by being predictable? The crowd was silent. No one argued with Hyun. No one ever argued with Hyun. The human won. Hyun said, "The trial is complete." "That is all that matters." He sat down. The head counselor, an old Vraxian with scars covering his face, stood slowly. "The Alpha Hunter speaks truth," the head counselor said. "The first trial is complete. The human has passed." He looked down at Taman, standing alone in the arena. "Rest, human. Tomorrow the second trial begins. We will see if you are as clever in the wilderness as you are in combat." Guards led Taman back through the tunnel. His legs were shaking now that the fight was over. His hands hurt from gripping the staff so hard. But he had won. Against all odds, he had won. Bora was waiting in the preparation room. She smiled when she saw him. "That was unexpected." "I just tried to survive," Taman said. "You did more than that. You made them think." Bora handed him water. "But tomorrow will be harder. The survival trial is 3 days in the wilderness dome. No tools, no help. Just you and nature." "What kind of wilderness?" "Jungle with predators. Real predators from the Empire's deadliest worlds. They roam free in the dome." Bora's expression darkened. 2 aliens have died in that trial in the last 10 years. "Be very careful." That night, Taman could not eat. His stomach was tight with fear. He had survived 1 trial, but 2 more waited, and the next one sounded much worse. Someone knocked on his door. When Taman opened it, Hyun stood there. The Alpha Hunter had to duck to fit through the doorway. "May I enter?" Hyun asked. "Of course," Taman said, surprised. Hyun sat on the floor. There was no chair big enough for him anyway. "You fought well today." "I got lucky," Taman said. "No. Luck is when things happen by chance. You made a plan and followed it. That is skill." Hyun looked at the human. "I want to tell you something. About the survival trial. Bora said there are predators. Yes, dangerous ones. But the animals are not your biggest danger." Hyun paused. "I have received word. June has asked to enter the dome during your trial. He claims he wants to observe. To ensure you do not cheat, Taemin felt cold. He wants to kill me. Yes, and I cannot stop him from entering. The rules allow observers. Hyun's expression was grim. I will try to enter as well. But the dome is large. I may not find you in time. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know. Because you deserve a chance. Hyun stood to leave. At the door he turned back. In the jungle, stay near water. Predators hunt near water, but so do prey animals. Where there is prey, you can set traps. Where there are traps, you can survive. Thank you, Taemin said. Do not thank me yet. Tomorrow survival begins. Hyun looked sad. I have seen many warriors die in that jungle. I do not want to add a clever human to that list. After Hyun left, Taemin stood at his window and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. He wondered if he would ever see it again. But then he thought about what Bora had told him. About the disappearing colonies. About the empire dying slowly. About needing new ideas. He had passed one trial. He could pass another. He had to. Taemin lay down and forced himself to sleep. Tomorrow would come too quickly. Tomorrow he would walk into a jungle designed to kill him. Tomorrow he would face not just animals but a Vraxian who wanted him dead. But tomorrow he would also prove something, not just to the Empire but to himself. Humans were small. Humans were weak, but humans survived. They had survived ice ages and droughts. They had survived predators and diseases. They had climbed from caves to stars. One more jungle would not stop them. Taemin closed his eyes and dreamed of trees. Of green earth forests where humans had learned to hunt and trap and survive. Where they had learned that size did not matter. Only cleverness. Only adaptability. Only the will to keep living no matter what. Outside his window, the station turned slowly in space. In the arena below, workers prepared the jungle dome. Trees imported from distant worlds. Water pumped from deep reservoirs. Predators released from their cages, hungry and ready to hunt. In the council chambers, June prepared his weapons and smiled. He would enter that jungle. He would find the human, and this time there would be no alpha hunter to stop him, no rules to protect the soft skin. In the shadows, he sharpened his own weapons and said a prayer to old gods. He had been praying a lot lately, ever since the small human arrived. Ever since hope, that dangerous thing, had begun to grow in his tired heart. Tomorrow would tell all. Tomorrow the second trial would begin. The jungle was hot and wet. Taemin stood at the entrance as the door sealed behind him. Thick trees stretched high above. Vines hung like ropes. Strange sounds echoed through the green shadows. Growls, clicks, screams of things hunting and things being hunted. Taemin was given nothing but the clothes on his back. 3 days, they said. Survived 3 days and the trial was complete. He started walking. Not randomly. He followed what Hyun had said. Find water. Near water there would be animals. Where there were animals there was food. Where there was food, there was survival. The first day was about learning. Taemin moved carefully, watching everything. He learned which plants were sticky and which were sharp. He found insects that swarmed in clouds. He heard large things moving through the trees but never saw them clearly. He found a stream as the sun began to set. The water was cold and clear. Taemin drank deeply, then looked for shelter. He found a large tree with thick roots forming a small cave. Good. Something at his back. Only one direction to watch. He gathered vines and wove them into a simple rope. He found straight branches and sharpened them against rocks. Not much, but better than nothing. That night he heard something big walk past his tree. Heavy footsteps. Deep breathing. The thing sniffed the air but kept moving. Taemin stayed perfectly still until it was gone. The second day was about trapping. Taemin used everything his military survival training had taught him. He built a simple snare near an animal trail. He dug a covered pit near the water where animals came to drink. He made a triggered trap using a bent sapling and sharp sticks. By evening he had caught 2 small creatures that looked like furry lizards. He cleaned them with a sharp stone and ate them raw. Not good, but calories were calories. He felt proud. He was doing it. He was surviving. That is when he heard the footsteps. Not animal footsteps. These were too regular, too purposeful. Someone was hunting him. Taemin climbed his tree and hid in the thick leaves. Below, a figure moved through the jungle. Vraxian, carrying weapons, moving with purpose toward Taemin's shelter. June uttered. The young Vraxian examined Taemin's camp. He looked at the traps, the shelter, the tools. Then he smiled and began to break everything. He crushed the traps. He scattered the tools. He destroyed the shelter. "Come out, soft skin," June called. "I know you are here. I tracked you from the entrance. Did you think you could hide from me?" Taemin stayed silent. His heart pounded. June had weapons. Real weapons. The trial was supposed to be without help, but June did not care about rules, no? June laughed. "Fine, I will wait. You need water. You need food. Eventually you will come down. And when you do, I will be here. Maybe you fall. Maybe an animal attacks you. So many ways to die in the jungle. Such a tragedy." June sat down, his back against a tree facing Taemin's camp. Waiting. Taemin was trapped. He could not come down. But he could not stay in the tree forever. Already the sun was setting. Soon it would be night. In the dark, with dangerous animals hunting, everything would be worse. Then Taemin heard something else. A new sound. Something big moving through the jungle, very big. The kind of big that made the ground shake. June heard it too. He stood up, suddenly alert. His confidence faded. He raised his weapon. The creature that emerged from the trees was massive. It stood 12 feet tall on 4 legs like pillars. Its head was all teeth and angry eyes. Thick armor covered its body. This was an apex predator. A creche bear, Taemin remembered from the files. One of the most dangerous animals in the known galaxy. The creche bear roared. The sound was like thunder. It had smelled blood from Taemin's killed animals. Now it smelled fresh prey. Its eyes locked on June. June fired his weapon. Energy bolts hit the creature's armor and bounced off. The creche bear charged. June ran. He was fast for his size, but the beast was faster. It would catch him in seconds. Taemin did not think. He just acted. He grabbed a branch and swung down, shouting loudly. The creche bear's head turned. It saw movement, new prey, smaller but closer. The beast changed direction. Toward Taemin. Taemin ran, not away. Toward the traps he had built. The creche bear followed, roaring, closing the distance. Taemin could feel its hot breath. Could hear its massive claws tearing up the ground. The pit trap was ahead. Taemin jumped over it easily. The creche bear was too big, too fast to stop. It ran right over the covered pit. The branches broke. The beast fell with a crash that shook the trees. It roared in pain and fury, trapped in the deep hole. Taemin did not stop running. He knew the trap would not hold it long. He ran to where he had built his largest trap. A deadfall. Heavy logs balanced above a thin trigger. The creche bear climbed out of the pit. It was angry now. It chased Taemin with pure rage. Taemin ran across the trigger. The logs fell. Hundreds of pounds of wood crashed down. The creche bear tried to dodge but was too close. The logs buried it. It roared once, twice, then went silent. Taemin collapsed against a tree, gasping for air. His legs shook. His lungs burned. But he was alive. June walked over slowly. His face was pale. He looked at Taemin. At the trapped beast. Back to Taemin. "You saved me," June said quietly. "The beast would have killed you," Taemin said between breaths. "Why?" "I came here to kill you." Taemin looked at him. "Because leaving you to die would make me like you. And I do not want to be like you." June stood there for a long moment. Then he dropped his weapon. "I was wrong about you," he said. His voice was different, quieter, ashamed. Before either could say more, they heard movement. Fast movement. Jan burst into the clearing, weapons ready. He saw June, saw his dropped weapon, saw the dead creche bear, saw Taemin barely standing. Jan lowered his weapons. "What happened?" "The human saved my life," June said. "I came to kill him. Instead, he saved me." He looked at Hyun. "Do what you must. I broke the rules of the trial. I dishonored myself and the Empire." Hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "You did, and you will face judgment. But first, the human needs medical attention." Taemin's vision was getting blurry. The adrenaline was fading. His body was crashing. "Did I pass?" he asked. "You survived 2 days and killed a creche bear with traps," Jan said. "Yes, you passed." Taemin smiled. Then everything went dark. He woke up in a medical facility. Soft bed, clean sheets, machines beeping quietly. Bora sat in a chair beside him. "Welcome back," she said. "You slept for 12 hours, June?" "Under arrest." "He will be punished. What he did was serious." Bora leaned forward. But the council is talking. About you. About what happened. You saved his life even though he tried to kill you. They do not understand that. We Vraxians do not think that way. Where is Hyun? He wants to talk to you. When you are ready, Taemin sat up. Everything hurt. But he needed to know. I am ready now. Hyun came in quietly. He looked tired. Older than before. He sat in the chair Bora had left. You should be resting, Hyun said. I will rest when this is done. Why did you really help me? Why do you care about one small human? Hyun was quiet for a long time. Then he began to speak. 20 years ago, I was a young warrior. Confident, strong, I thought the Vraxian way was the only way. Then the border wars began. I led a unit of 50 warriors. We were the best. We won every battle through strength and courage. He paused. Pain crossed his face. Then we met an enemy that did not fight like us. They set traps. They attacked from hiding. They used poison and tricks. My warriors called them cowards. But one by one my warriors died. We could not adapt. We could not change. We kept fighting the same way, expecting different results. What happened? I was the only survivor. Not because I was strongest, but because I learned, too late for my unit. But I learned. Hyun looked at Taemin. That enemy is still out there. On the frontier. Taking our colonies, killing our people, and the Empire still cannot adapt, still cannot change. Bora told me about the disappearing colonies. Then you know why I need your help. Hyun leaned forward. I have watched the recordings of the attacks. I have studied them for years. There are patterns. Patterns our strategists do not see because they think like Vraxians. But you might see them. You think differently. Hyun pulled out a small device and activated it. Holographic images appeared. Colony layouts, attack reports, empty cities. Taemin studied them. His tactical training took over. He looked at the patterns of disappearance, the timing, the locations. They are not attacking randomly, Taemin said slowly. Look, they hit outlying buildings first. Then they work inward. They are hurting people, like driving animals into a trap. We thought they were just destroying systematically. No, they want something. Prisoners, maybe. Or they are studying you, learning your reactions. Taemin pointed at another image. And here, you sent reinforcements. They arrived and found nothing. But they landed in the same spot every time. The main spaceport. Where else would they land? Anywhere else. You are predictable. They know where you will come from. They prepare. Taemin looked at Hyun. You need to stop fighting like Vraxians. Use surprise. Use deception. Attack from unexpected angles. Hyun smiled. It was the saddest smile Taemin had ever seen. This is why I needed you. This is why Earth matters. Not because you are strong, but because you think like survivors. What do you want from me? Help me change the Empire. Help me teach them to adapt. Be my advisor. Hyun's expression was serious. There is one trial left. The trial of wisdom. The council chamber was full. Every counselor was present. This was the trial of wisdom, and everyone wanted to see if the small human who had shocked them twice could do it again. Taemin stood in the center once more. He had spent 2 days studying with Hyun, looking at attack patterns, reading reports, learning everything about the frontier threat. His mind was full of information, connections, possibilities. The head counselor stood. Human. You have passed 2 trials through luck and cleverness. But wisdom is different. Wisdom requires understanding, strategy, the ability to see what others cannot see. A holographic display activated in the center of the room. It showed a star map. Red dots marked colonies that had gone silent. Blue dots showed active military positions. Green lines showed patrol routes. This is our frontier, the counselor said. For 3 years, we have lost contact with 17 colonies. We have sent our best warriors, our finest strategists. Nothing works. The enemy remains invisible. The attacks continue. He looked at Taemin. You have 6 hours to study this information. Then you will present a strategy to defend our frontier. If the council judges your strategy worthy, you pass. If not, you fail. Begin. Taemin sat down. Holographic controls appeared in front of him. He could zoom in on any colony, read any report, see any battle footage. 6 hours to solve a problem that had stumped the Empire for 3 years. He took a deep breath and started working. First, he looked at the pattern of disappearances. Not random. They were hitting colonies in a specific order, working outward from a central point in unexplored space, like ripples spreading from a stone dropped in water. Second, he studied the response times. Vraxian fleets arrived between 6 and 8 hours after each colony went silent, always landing at the main spaceport. Always finding nothing, no bodies, no signs of battle, just empty buildings. Third, he examined the colonies themselves. What did they have in common? Resources, location? No, but they all had similar layouts, similar defenses, similar everything. Because the Empire built every colony the same way. Predictable. Fourth, he looked at what the Vraxians had tried. More patrols, bigger weapons, faster response times. All failed, because they were all the same kind of solution. More force, more speed, more strength. The pattern was clear now. The enemy was not stronger than the Vraxians. They were smarter. They studied their prey. They learned the patterns. They used predictability as a weapon. How would humans fight this enemy? Taemin thought about Earth history, about guerrilla warfare, about asymmetric tactics, about the battles where smaller forces defeated larger ones through deception and adaptation. He began to build his strategy. 6 hours passed quickly. The counselors returned. They sat in their high chairs and looked down at the small humans surrounded by holographic displays. "Present your strategy," the head counselor said. Taemin stood. "Honorable counselors, I believe your enemy is not trying to destroy you. They are trying to learn about you. Every colony they take teaches them more. Every response you make shows them your patterns." Murmurs spread through the council. Some looked offended. Some looked interested. "Your colonies are built the same way. Your fleets respond the same way. Your tactics are the same every time." Taemin manipulated the display. "Look at these response times. Always 6 to 8 hours. Always landing at the same location. The enemy knows exactly when you will arrive and where you will be." "So what would you do differently?" a counselor asked. 3 things. First, stop being predictable. Build colonies with different layouts. Station fleets at random locations. Change patrol routes constantly. Make it impossible for the enemy to learn your patterns. Taemin zoomed in on a frontier colony. Second, set a trap. The enemy expects empty colonies. Give them one that is not empty. Hide warriors throughout the colony, not at obvious defensive positions, in homes, in storage buildings, everywhere. When the enemy comes, they find what looks like an easy target. Then you attack from everywhere at once. "Hiding is not honorable," June's father said. He was also a counselor. "Survival is more honorable than death," Taemin replied. Third, and most important, change how you think about this enemy. Stop trying to overpower them. Start trying to outsmart them. Use deception. Set false patrols to waste their time. Send false signals to confuse them. Make them uncertain. Make them afraid. He looked around at the counselors. "You are stronger than this enemy. But they are winning because strength is not enough. You must adapt or die. That is the only wisdom that matters." The chamber was silent. Some counselors looked angry. Some looked thoughtful. Some whispered to each other. Jan stood. "I support this strategy. I will personally lead the first mission using these tactics." Bo-Ra stood. "I also support this. The human sees what we have been blind to. We must try something new." Slowly other counselors stood. Not all, but enough. The head counselor looked at those standing, then at those sitting. Finally he stood. "The human has shown wisdom. He sees our weakness and offers solutions. The trial is complete." He looked directly at Taemin. "You have passed all 3 trials. You have earned Earth's alliance with the Vraxian Empire." The chamber erupted. Cheers and shouts mixed together. Some celebrating. Some protesting. But it did not matter. The decision was made. Taemin felt his legs go weak. He had done it. Against everything. He had actually done it. Guards led him from the chamber. Outside, Hyon waited. Bo-Ra was with him. "Well done," Bo-Ra said. "You have changed history today." "What happens now?" Taemin asked. "Now we prepare," Hyun said. "I want you to come with me to the frontier. Your strategy needs refinement. It needs someone who understands human tactics to make it work." "When do we leave?" 1 week. That gives you time to contact Earth, to tell them the news." Jan put a hand on Taemin's shoulder. The gesture was gentle despite his size. "Thank you, my friend, for showing us that there is more than one way to be strong." 6 months later, Taemin stood on the command deck of a Vraxian warship. Through the window, a frontier colony spread below. This one was different from the others. Different layout, irregular streets, hidden defensive positions. Everything designed to break the pattern. Hyun stood beside him. They will come soon. Our scouts reported unusual activity near the system. The enemy is watching. Are the warriors ready? Taemin asked, hidden throughout the colony. Waiting. Hyun smiled. It was a warrior's smile now. Not sad, eager. Your people's military advisors have trained them well. They understand now. Adaptation, flexibility, surprise, and the backup plan. 2 fleets. One at the normal position, arriving at the normal time. One hidden, ready to cut off escape routes. Hyun looked at Taemin. Everything as you designed. The waiting was hard. Hours passed. Then sensors detected ships entering the system. Unknown configuration, moving toward the colony. Here they come, Hyun said quietly. The enemy ships landed. Figures emerged. They looked like insects with multiple limbs and crystalline armor. They moved through the colony in their usual pattern, spreading out, searching buildings, looking for victims to study or take. They found empty homes, abandoned streets. Just like always, then the trap closed. Warriors burst from hiding. Weapons fired from unexpected angles. The enemy was surrounded, confused, unable to adapt to the chaos. For the first time, they were the ones caught by surprise. The battle was short and brutal. The enemy tried to retreat to their ships. The hidden fleet appeared, blocking their escape. Within an hour, it was over. Hyun walked through the captured enemy ship. Taemin went with him. They found computer systems, biological samples, maps of Vraxian space. The enemy had been studying the Empire, learning, planning. They thought they were the smart ones, Hyun said. They thought we could never change. Everyone can change, Taemin said, if they choose to. News of the victory spread quickly through the Empire. The frontier threat was not invincible. It could be beaten. Not with more strength, but with new thinking. More councils reached out to Earth, more alliances formed. Human military advisors became valued across multiple species, not because humans were the strongest, but because they thought differently. A year after Taemin first arrived at the station, he stood in the same arrival area. But this time, he was not alone. A dozen human ships docked. Diplomats, advisors, teachers, traders. Earth had arrived in the galactic community. The Vraxians who greeted them did not laugh. They bowed with respect. Hyun stood beside Taemin, watching the humans disembark. Do you remember when you first arrived? When they mocked you? I remember, Taemin said. What do you feel now? Taemin thought about it. About the trials. About the fear and pain. About nearly dying. About changing an empire's way of thinking. Pride, he said finally. Not because I proved them wrong, but because we proved that different kinds of strength can work together. Hyun nodded. The galaxy is vast. There are many dangers, many enemies. But there are also many peoples, many ways of thinking, many kinds of strength. He looked at the arriving humans. We need all of them. Bora approached. She was High Counselor now. Ambassador Taemin. The new training academy is complete, the one for joint Vraxian human units. We would be honored if you would speak at the opening ceremony. I would be honored, Taemin said. As they walked through the station, Taemin noticed how things had changed.